Never-Ending Narratives presents Altar of Omnia, written by hero protagonist.
Chapter 2. The Trial. The presence didn't pounce like an animal. It committed like a person. A blur of gray muscle and matted fur tore through the fog, taller than Kenji, shoulders hunched, hands ending in black claws like sharpened rebar. Its muzzle was too long. Its eyes were too human. Kenji barely registered the first swipe, just the sudden, vicious impact, before his world snapped sideways. He slammed into a pine hard enough that white static burst across his vision. At 80% sensory feedback, it felt like getting hit by a car. Pain tore through his left shoulder like someone had dragged a razor across his skin and poured salt into the cut. Damage, laceration, left shoulder, severity, moderate. Status, bleed, active, blood loss, 0.4% per minute. Pain response, 80%, shock risk, elevated. Kenji's arm went instantly hot and wet. He looked down and saw crimson running in a steady line from his shoulder to his elbow, dripping off his fingertips.
"I am a tactical genius,"
Kenji wheezed.
80% pain, I said. Immersion, I said.
He coughed.
Congrats, Kenji. You played yourself.
Lyra was already moving. The wolf humanoid snapped its head toward her, claws carving the air. Lyra twisted, clean, athletic, almost graceful, and the claws missed her ribs by inches. In the freezing mist, her default rags clung to her like it had been painted on. Torn linen, damp against dark skin, riding high on one thigh when she pivoted, the hem barely covering the swell of her figure. The outfit screamed vulnerable noob. Lyra's posture screamed predator. Kenji logged the obvious.
Priority. Survive. Secondary priority. Do not die while staring at Lyra's hips. Tertiary priority. Find a warm cave and bury myself between her thighs before the cold kills me.
Lyra snatched up the jagged stone she'd palmed earlier and hurled it with a warrior's economy. The rock clipped the creature's face, not the cheek, the eye. The wolf humanoid shrieked, high and furious, and reeled back, a clawed hand slapping at its bleeding socket. Kenji didn't waste the opening. He ripped the iron oak branch out of the mud. The bark bit into his palm like teeth. It was heavy, dense, almost metallic, like the forest had secretly forged it in a furnace of spite. He planted his feet, kendo stance. The world narrowed to one clean line. The wolf humanoid recovered fast. It lunged, claws reaching for Kenji's throat. Kenji stepped in and struck the wristline with the branch, the move so automatic his mouth shouted the call before his brain could second-guess it.
Cody!
Wood cracked against bone. The claw deflected hard enough that the wolf's shoulder snapped sideways. It howled, real pain, real surprise, as if it couldn't believe the noob with the stick had just checked it. Kenji flowed through the motion. The branch turned in a tight circle, hips driving, shoulders rolling, the iron oak moving like it wanted to be a blade. He raised it overhead and brought it down with everything he had.
Man!
The branch hit the creature's skull with a wet, brutal crunch. The wolf humanoid's legs buckled, its body stiffened like a puppet whose strings had been cut. Then it folded into the snow with a twitching sigh. Silence swallowed the clearing. Kenji stood there panting, blood dripping from his shoulder, hands trembling, not from fear, but from his nervous system realizing it was still alive. Adrenaline surged through him, a wild, sharp high fueled by the kill and the sight of Lyra moving like liquid violence. Lyra stared at the dead thing, eyes bright with adrenaline, chest rising and falling fast enough to pull the torn rags tighter across her breasts. Kenji swallowed bile.
This game,
he muttered,
is absolutely unhinged.
A faint chime echoed through his skull. Combat log. Critical strike. Cranial impact. Notice, martial art detected. Kenji squinted through the sting of blood and cold.
Huh?
Another overlay appeared, cautious at first, like the system was deciding whether he was worth the processing. Skill creation, evaluating. Input, significant martial art. Detected, kendo striking calls, targeted parry, precision follow-through. Codifying combat pattern. Lyra let out a low laugh, half impressed, half savage.
Look at you.
She said.
The forest just gave you a gold star for violence.
Kenji flexed his left hand and hissed as the shoulder wound pulled.
Gold star? I got a free shoulder surgery.
The UI didn't care. It finalized. Unique style unlocked. Iron Oak Iaido, the budget Ronin school. Restriction, organic blades only. Wood/leaf/resin. Metal blades rejected. Passive, parry precision plus 5%. Passive, impact transfer plus 3% using organic blades. Note, the wild rejects forged metal. Living materials resonate. Kenji stared at it, then stared harder.
The budget Ronin school?
Lyra's smile spread slow and dangerous.
Oh, I love this for you.
She purred.
You wanted to be a sword saint. The system heard you and said, best I can do is stick.
Kenji lifted the iron oak branch like it might apologize.
This is discrimination,
He said flatly.
I'm being oppressed by trees.
Lyra stepped closer, eyes flicking to his bleeding shoulder with that calm, predatory focus. She pressed 2 fingers against the gash, slow, deliberate, testing the edges like she was savoring the texture of his pain. Kenji sucked in a breath. At 80%, her touch burned like fire on raw nerves, every ridge of her fingerprints registering as exquisite torture. Heat shot straight to his groin. Lyra didn't stop.
Hold still,
She said, voice low. He tried to play tough.
It's fine.
Lyra raised one eyebrow. Kenji corrected himself.
It's not fine. It feels like my shoulder is being chewed by a chainsaw.
Lyra smirked, then leaned in closer, close enough that her breath ghosted hot across his neck. Her presence was overwhelming, a mix of cold air and intense, shared adrenaline.
Poor city boy.
She murmured.
Hurting so much, and yet you can't take your eyes off me.
Before he could answer, she flicked her wrist. The corpse shimmered and vanished. Inventory updated. Warkin remains ×1. Item added, blighted eye, damaged. Item added, claw fragment ×2. Item added, mangy hide, common. Kenji gagged.
You put it in your pockets.
Lyra shrugged.
It's an inventory.
That's worse.
He said.
That means it's in your soul.
Lyra laughed, genuine and loud, then stepped even closer, her thigh brushing his as she leaned in.
City boy.
She teased, voice dropping to a husky whisper.
You'll parry a monster, but you'll faint over loot, or maybe over this.
She pressed her palm flat against his chest, right over his hammering heart, fingers splaying wide. The contact sent another jolt straight down his spine. Kenji opened his mouth to retort, and then his eyes betrayed him again, because the rags torn a little more during the fight. A strip of linen was now doing a heroic but failing job of covering her. The cold mist beaded on her skin like diamonds, trickling down between her breasts and pooling at the dip of her navel. Lyra flicked his forehead, sharp, playful.
Focus.
She said, amused. Kenji grunted. The clearing was still, too still, like the taiga was waiting to see what they did next. That bothered Kenji more than the monster did. Predators were simple. Systems weren't. Lyra turned slowly, scanning the trees.
We need shelter.
She said.
Now.
Kenji nodded, jaw tight as his shoulder protested. A few meters away, the mist thinned just enough to reveal it. A tree. The tree looked more like a monument. Its trunk was so wide it looked like the pillar of a cathedral. Bark dark and layered like armor. And at its base, an opening, big enough to walk into. Kenji's breath caught.
That's a house.
Lyra moved first, stone back in hand, posture ready for another ambush. They approached the opening, and the smell hit Kenji. Rot, fur, old blood. Inside, the hollow trunk was enormous, almost the size of their real-world apartment living room. The floor was packed dirt and leaf litter, scattered with bones of small forest creatures. A feeding den. Kenji glanced at Lyra. Lyra glanced at the bones. Lyra nodded once.
This is ours.
She said. Kenji frowned.
We're claiming the murder tree?
Lyra's eyes glinted.
We're surviving.
Kenji stepped inside and immediately felt the difference. The wind didn't cut as hard. The whispering static faded into a lower, distant hiss. It wasn't warm, but it was less hostile. Location discovered, hollow heart trunk. Shelter rating, B. Status, hypothermia risk reduced. Kenji let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding.
Okay,
He said.
Step 1, don't freeze to death.
Lyra paced the interior, checking angles like she'd been raised by wolves instead of Nigerian aunties and actuarial spreadsheets.
We fortify.
She said.
We train. We listen. We don't wander blind.
Kenji sank against the inner bark, shoulder aching, and glanced at the UI again.
Organic blades only. No metal. No proper sword. Just forest.
He stared at the iron oak branch in his hand.
Cool.
He muttered.
The game gave me a sword style, and then told me I'm not allowed to own a sword.
Lyra shot him a grin over her shoulder.
You love it.
She said.
You're finally in a world that doesn't care about your subscriptions.
Kenji snorted.
It cares. It just switched me to the twig package.
Lyra laughed again. Then she sat cross-legged on the dirt like she was meditating in a shrine instead of a murder den. She closed her eyes. Kenji watched her intently. She wasn't resting. She was consolidating experience through vibe alone. Kenji's shoulder throbbed. Blood still ran, slower now but steady. He pressed a strip of torn fabric against the gash, packing snow from the entry to slow the bleed. The cold numbed it, turning the hot trickle to a dull seep. Status update, bleed, slowed. Blood loss, 0.1% per minute. He stood and forced himself into motion.
If the tiger wanted discipline, fine.
Kenji ran his kata. Slow at first. Careful. Painful. At 80% sensitivity, every shift of weight mattered. Every mistake felt like a consequence waiting to happen. He stepped. He cut. He turned. The iron oak branch hissed through cold air. Bark tore his palms. His shoulders screamed. Kenji kept going anyway. A chime. Skill creation. Evaluating repetition. Detected. Stance martial art. Breath control. Intent recognition. Kenji's mouth pulled into a grim smile.
Oh, now you want to talk to me.
The overlay finalized. Buff skill learned. Forest kata. Bloodline tempo. Effect. After a successful parry, next strike damage plus 12% for 5 seconds. Restriction. Organic blade required. Kenji flexed his right hand.
Okay,
He whispered.
that's actually clean.
Lyra opened her eyes. Her irises shimmered faintly amber, like the game was highlighting her.
You're progressing fast.
She said. Kenji shrugged, careful not to trigger the shoulder.
I'm motivated.
Sure.
She said.
Motivated.
Kenji ignored the accusation and pointed at the opening.
We need a door,
He said.
something to block wind, and monsters.
Lyra's lips curled.
Watch.
She reached out toward the bark. The wood creaked, low and deep, like the trunk was waking up. Vines slid down from the inner wall, weaving together in a slow braid. Roots rose like fingers. In less than a minute, the opening had a living seal, thick, layered, and strangely elegant. A door made of the forest itself. Spell learned, verdant latch. Effect, creates a living barrier. Durability scales with attunement. Kenji stared.
Okay,
He said.
that's terrifyingly useful.
Lyra tilted her head.
You thought you needed a weapon shop. I have a tree.
Kenji pointed toward the corner where the bones sat.
You're still cold.
He said.
We need fire.
Lyra shook her head immediately.
No,
She said.
fire is loud.
Kenji blinked.
Fire is light.
Lyra gave him a look like he'd just tried to microwave a fork.
Smoke travels.
She said.
Heat signatures attract hunters, and burning the forest is stupid.
Kenji opened his mouth. Lyra held up a finger. Then she pressed her palm to her sternum. Her breath slowed, and the air changed. Warmth spread through the hollow trunk, not hot, not fiery, but alive, like stepping under a sunbeam after being cold for too long. Kenji's skin prickled as feeling returned to his fingers. The ambient heat made Lyra's skin glow faintly. Beads of sweat appeared along her collarbone, trickling down into the deep valley between her breasts. The rags clung even tighter now, translucent in places, every curve and shadow on full display. Buff learned, fire within. Effect: ambient warmth. Cold resistance plus 15%. Duration: sustained while focused. Kenji exhaled and let his shoulders drop. He hated how good it felt, and he hated even more how badly he wanted to close the distance, pin her against the bark, and taste the salt on her skin.
I take back half of what I said about the druid thing.
He admitted, voice rough. Lyra smiled smugly.
Only half?
The other half is pending further evidence.
Kenji said. Lyra's eyes flicked to his shoulder again.
Sit.
She ordered.
Sit.
She ordered. She knelt in front of him, close enough that her knees brushed his thighs. She examined the wound, her focus absolute. Her breath fanned hot across his chest, and for a moment, the world outside the tree ceased to exist.
Fuck, 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 fuck. If she touches me again, I'm going to lose it.
Lyra pressed her finger into the cut, slow, probing. Kenji hissed.
God!
Quiet.
She said, amused.
You scream too much.
Kenji glared.
I'm at 80%.
Lyra's smile widened. She didn't pull her finger back. Instead, she slid her other hand up his thigh, high, deliberate, stopping just short of where he ached most.
Then suffer with dignity, city boy.
She whispered.
Or don't. I like the sounds you make when you're desperate.
Kenji's hips jerked involuntarily. He bit the inside of his cheek hard enough to taste blood. Lyra finally eased back, eyes gleaming with victory. She closed her eyes again, not for warmth this time, for communication. She started making soft sounds, clicks, hums, low tones that felt wrong in a human mouth. Kenji watched, half impressed, half horrified.
You're really trying to talk to squirrels,
He said. Lyra didn't open her eyes.
Yes.
Kenji shook his head.
We are so dead.
Lyra ignored him. Outside the living door, something moved. Small, careful, a faint scratching. Kenji's grip tightened on the iron oak branch. Lyra lifted her chin slightly.
Come in.
She said softly, in that same strange cadence. The verdant latch parted like a curtain. A squirrel stepped inside. Kenji's throat went tight. The squirrel stood on its hind legs and stretched. Bones shifted. Fur rippled. The creature expanded, reshaping into a short, chubby man in his 30s with a round face and a beard that made him look like he belonged behind a tavern counter pouring ale for adventurers. He wore simple leather and moss-stained cloth. His cheeks were ruddy, his eyes sparkled with mischief. He grinned.
Well now,
He said warmly.
that was a clean coat, brother.
Kenji went still. Lyra didn't flinch. Kenji's brain straight up lagged.
You were a squirrel.
The man shrugged.
I'm a druid.
Lyra leaned forward, voice sharp.
You've been watching.
The druid held up both hands, surrendering to the vibe.
I have,
He admitted.
and I'm impressed.
Kenji narrowed his eyes.
Where were you while we were fighting for our lives?
The druid's grin dimmed, just a fraction.
My friends died.
He said quietly. Kenji's gaze flicked to the bones. The druid followed his gaze and sighed.
Not druids.
He clarified.
Squirrels. Actual squirrels.
Kenji stared.
You're telling me you mourn squirrels.
The druid's grin returned, unashamed.
They were good lads.
Lyra's voice was cold.
And you still didn't help.
The druid's eyes sharpened.
Because I'm not allowed.
He said.
Not like that. Beasts hunt, beasts kill. It's the natural order. The archdruid doesn't allow us to slaughter local predators unless they're sanctioned for a hunt or marked as blighted.
Kenji's stomach tightened.
Blighted?
He repeated. The druid nodded slowly.
That thing you killed wasn't normal.
He said.
Workin aren't lone predators. Packs mean politics. Politics mean bosses. And if a pack is roaming wrong, something pushed it.
Lyra's eyes glowed faintly again, like her body didn't like that information. Kenji leaned forward.
Where's the grove?
He asked. The druid laughed, soft and disappointed.
You don't find the grove.
He said.
The grove finds you.
Lyra's patience snapped.
Stop talking like a quest NPC.
She hissed.
Tell me what to do.
The druid's grin returned full force.
Ah,
He said.
that fire. That demand. Yeah, you're the type who makes the trees nervous.
Lyra's fingers curled. Kenji quickly engaged mental protocol.
Step 1, let Lyra threaten him. Step 2, don't get murdered by a druid squirrel man. Step 3, profit.
The druid held up a finger.
You want the grove?
He asked. Lyra nodded once.
Yes.
Then you must complete a trial.
He said. Kenji exhaled. Of course. The druid tilted his head.
The forest must see restraint.
He continued.
Discipline, respect, no fires, no scars, no greedy slaughter. And you must learn to listen. That means she must learn to speak, and you must learn to follow.
Kenji frowned.
I don't follow.
Lyra smirked.
He follows.
Kenji glared. The druid clapped once.
The trial begins the moment you decide it does.
He said.
And if you fail,
Kenji didn't like how the druid paused.
the forest will keep you.
The druid finished. Lyra stood.
We're doing it.
Kenji looked at his bleeding shoulder, at the iron oak branch, at Lyra, barefoot in a torn rags like she was a myth with curves and attitude, skin still flushed from the magic and the fight. And he realized two things at once. 1, this was the first time he'd felt alive in years. 2, he was completely, hopelessly enamored with her.
Fine,
Kenji said.
trial it is.
The druid nodded.
One more thing,
He said, grin returning.
avoid the other travelers,
Kenji's brow furrowed.
Other travelers?
the ones who pay for power.
The druid said.
They think the grove is a prize to purchase. They don't understand it's a pact. They've been searching for days.
Lyra's eyes narrowed.
Where are they?
The druid's smile sharpened.
Nearby,
He said.
and they're loud.
He stepped back, and his body shimmered, flesh collapsing into fur in a ripple of moss-green light. In the span of a breath, the chubby druid was gone. A squirrel blinked at them. Then it darted into the crack of the trunk and vanished into the bark like it had never existed. Lyra touched the verdant latch, sealing it behind them. They left the hollow tree, and the taiga greeted them with cold and that low, distant whisper, like corrupted audio grinding far away. Kenji's shoulder still burned, but fire within kept his fingers from turning into dead meat. They moved quietly, Lyra leading with instinct, Kenji watching angles like he was clearing rooms in a shooter. Then they heard it. Steel, shouts, magic. They crept through brush and found the source, a clearing. 5 players. Not noobs. These were armored, glowing runes, polished plates, weapons that looked purchased more than earned. One of them wore a cloak that shimmered with layered cosmetic effects like a walking ad banner. Kenji's eyes narrowed.
Ah, a whale. The sacred predator of the cash shop, rare, loud, and convinced the forest owes him loot.
In front of them, An ogre the size of a truck swung a club made from a tree trunk. Its skin was thick and scarred. Its mouth was full of teeth too small for its jaw, like it had been assembled wrong. The ogre roared and smashed downward. One player tried to roll. He was half a second late. The club hit. He folded. The sound was final. The body ragdolled in the snow for a heartbeat. Then a clean flash of blue light snapped around him like a system bubble. Respawn triggered. His corpse dissolved into particles. Kenji's pulse spiked anyway. Not because the player went down, because Kenji did the math.
Bound to the Citadel.
He said quietly.
He can afford mistakes.
Kenji's fingers flexed around the iron oak.
We can't. We're unbound.
His gaze stayed on the club.
One bad read, and our avatars get deleted.
He glanced at Lyra. She was watching the whale, like she was already deciding how to outplay him. Another player rushed in, panicked courage beating out common sense. The ogre backhanded him. He hit a tree and didn't move. A third player screamed and bolted, full sprint, full terror. The ogre caught him by the ankle and dragged him back like a sack of meat. Kenji watched the ogre tear him in half. Lyra didn't look away. Her jaw clenched. The whale snarled something and raised a staff. A ring of fire erupted, too clean, too controlled, too expensive, and slammed into the ogre's face like a miniature sun. The ogre bellowed, staggered, and dropped. Two players remained standing. One of them, lean, anxious, looked at the corpses with a hollow stare. "We should go back," the anxious one said, voice shaking. "We've been out here for days. Supplies are low. The Citadel is weeks away. We can't—" The whale cut him off. "We're not leaving," the whale snapped. "We're close. I can feel it." The anxious one swallowed. "We're lost. We've been lost. The path isn't showing. It's like the forest is hiding it." Kenji and Lyra exchanged a glance in the brush. Lyra's eyes gleamed. Kenji understood immediately. They weren't failing because they lacked gear. They were failing because they were treating the forest like a dungeon to brute force. The traveler looked around furious and spat on the ground. "It has to be close by," he hissed. "The grove is ours." Lyra's smile turned cruel. She was already thinking, already planning. They slipped away before the whale's attention drifted toward the brush. Back in the shadows of the taiga, Lyra spoke in a low, focused voice.
Strategy update,
She said. Kenji's lips twitched.
Oh, so the strategy isn't to hide in bushes.
Lyra ignored him.
We don't fight like that.
She said.
We don't announce ourselves. We don't burn the forest. We don't scar the land.
Kenji nodded.
Okay, so what's the plan then? Tree hugging?
Lyra's gaze sharpened, bright and intense.
I speak to everything.
She said.
Birds, foxes, mice, anything that breathes. I collect fragments, patterns, rumors.
Kenji tilted his head.
And me?
Lyra looked him over. Blood on his arm, iron oak branch in his hand, jaw set like a man refusing to be weak.
You.
She said, stepping close enough that her breast brushed his chest.
Stay alive. You defend me while I listen, and when we're safe.
Kenji swallowed hard, forced his voice steady.
Okay,
He said.
trial. Animals. Stealth. No fire.
Lyra's eyes softened for one rare second, then turned hungry again.
Good,
She said.
because I think the forest just gave us a hint.
Kenji frowned.
What hint?
Lyra closed her eyes and tilted her head, listening. The taiga shifted. The wind eased. The whispers dropped into a hush that felt like attention. A thin line of frost traced itself along the ground ahead of them, bending between trees like a subtle arrow that could vanish if you blinked too hard. Kenji's grip tightened on the iron oak branch. Lyra opened her eyes. They glowed amber.
I can feel it,
She whispered.
like a doorway.
A UI flicker appeared, faint and almost shy. Hidden condition, met, restraint. Hidden condition, met, attunement, minor. Path revealed. Lyra smiled, fierce and hungry.
Come on, city boy.
She said.
Let's go earn our myth.
and the forest finally began to open.
This has been a never-ending narratives production, Altar of Omnia, written by hero protagonist. Thank you for listening. New chapters arrive weekly. Stay tuned.